Lita, with so many of our clients, when they first start the boot camp, the fact is that their LinkedIn is almost empty.
Mhm.
And that is one of the most important personal branding tools that's out there. And so I would love to hear your thoughts. What I hear is, I'm only a junior. I don't have enough experience. Go on, and so on. That's not true.
Yeah, and your personal brand is so much more than LinkedIn, but LinkedIn is like a mini website. So to not take advantage of the searchability, the knowledge sharing, the interactions that can happen on LinkedIn for personal branding and career growth, it's like leaving money on the table. Your personal branding is who you are and what you can offer and who you want to serve, right? So when you wrap those things up, which we go through a whole process with our clients, then you look at LinkedIn and you see how to maximize the profile to really capture that. It starts with the photograph. We know from surveys done and all this research that LinkedIn has done that the first thing a human being looks at is a profile picture. We look for eyes. So if you're looking at the camera and you look friendly and approachable and professional, now I've settled, I'm going to look more. And then I might look at your background image.
Mm-hmm.
If it's generic, it doesn't tell me anything. It's not offensive, but it doesn't tell me anything. So taking it a step further and adding an image that speaks more to who you are. One of our students had played varsity in college and had won multiple championships. She was recently out of school. So we used that as an image in the background. But then you have all these assets that the profile gives you to really unpack your value proposition, from your headline to your about section to your experience section. And so often I hear from our clients, well, I don't have a lot of experience. I have one internship and I babysat. Well, that's experience. And
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't say jobs. It says experience. So did you volunteer? Were you active in clubs? Were you captain of a team? You can put those things now in your experience section. So there's all these ways, recommendations and skills, all the ways that you can really bring your personal brand to life on LinkedIn.
Yeah, yeah. And the way that I look at it is, it really it helps build your go to market
Mm-hmm.
strategy, right? Your
Absolutely.
personal brand is who you are, what makes you tick,
Mm-hmm.
what you bring to an organization, what your values are. And without a go to market strategy, you have the risk of getting lost in the deluge of applicants.
And I think some of us were taught, right, not to stand out, to just get along with everybody, look like everyone else, right? We followed the scripts and the mantras and the rules, but we weren't building our brand. And so when things got more competitive, it became more important to separate out what makes you you. And that's what I love about personal branding is we get to go behind the curtain and say, you've got a heart beating in your chest. What is it beating to?
Mm-hmm.
And somebody trusts you enough to really let you unpack that with them, you find out these unique and special and just amazing qualities that they didn't even think were marketable. Here's an example. One of the things I often find that my clients have as a superpower is what's easy for them. I had one client, was not a student, but a client years ago, who was so good at negotiation. I mean, he could, he was scary how good he was at negotiating. And he goes, but that's easy. I mean, anybody
Mm-hmm.
can do that. I said, no, most people can't. But it came so easy to him that he didn't value it. And sometimes it's having a coach or a guide say, that thing you think is not that big a deal because it's easy, that's really special. And there's high demand for that, right? Maybe it's the way that you think or the way you problem solve or the way you process, the way you build teams, your communication style.
Mm-hmm.
Take a step back and really look at those things that are easy for you because they may be really hard for someone else. And that makes them valuable.
That's a super interesting perspective. And there's one other thing that you called out that I think is essential, and that's authenticity. Your brand needs to be authentically you.
It does. And that's a tricky word. I mean, in my latest book, The New Rules of Influence, I actually say, authenticity and being authentic. I mean, I use it every other sentence. We all do. But it's easier sometimes to think about being real.
Mm-hmm.
And what I talk about in the book and I talk about with my clients is being real means you're stripping away all the, all the pomp and circumstance, all the scripting, all of that stuff. Because if I say to you, Allison, let's get authentic,
Mm-hmm.
you'd
What
like,
does that mean?
you'd be
Yeah.
like, I thought we were. But if I said, let's get real,
Mm-hmm.
there's this understanding that like I'm asking for us to have a heart to heart, and that
Yeah.
means being genuine. So yeah, we need to be genuine because that's where people connect. We don't connect with the image that's gone through 100 filters and has been so overly polished and scripted.
Mm-hmm.
We connect with someone who is real and
Yeah.
shares their story, and maybe it's our story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. So, another great tip from Career Launch Navigators.